You're listening to The Rant.
Welcome to a brand new beginning, you sorry shits.
Bigger and better and stronger.
Better. Way better. Been better.
Oh, hello. I know, right? Whose balls did I have to...
Excuse me?
Number one bullshit guy.
To The Rant.
This is such a crock of shit.
Sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business.
Imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
You're listening to The Rant with David King.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Rant. I'm your host, David King. It is good to be here with you on this Sunday, October 5th. Oh, my Lord above. I did a podcast a few weeks ago honoring the death of Charlie Kirk. And I got to say, it was a hard podcast to do, and I've been wanting to get back on, and I've finally gotten around to doing it. We're still working on a schedule for this show, so you got to be patient with me. It's just going to be what it's going to be. All right. Oh, but here we are 2 weeks later, and you think to yourself, you know, we had a lot of stuff come up with Charlie Kirk after his death. We had the Jimmy Kimmel comments, and he got kind of temporarily fired, and then he got brought back in, and then that caused a whole uproar, and everybody was talking about cancel culture and how, oh, I'm losing my job because I spoke up. I said something. I'm losing my job. And now the Republicans and conservatives are canceling us, and they were against cancel culture. Brr. Let me tell you something. It is do not compare you and your ilk digging up tweets, digging up videos, digging up text messages from months and years, decades ago, and going, look what this person said. Look what this person said. Look what they did. Cancel them. Off to the cornfield with you. There were people who were canceled. There were people who lost their jobs. There were people who were sued. There was a baker who was sued because he did not want to bake a cake for somebody on the basis of his beliefs. And you know what's interesting? We're being told to sit down and shut up by Muslims in Dearborn because they're concerned that they're naming roads after Arabic journalists who support terrorist organizations like Hamas, and we're being told, shut up, bigot, sit down. You're not welcome here. We're just voicing a concern. Nobody said we were going to cancel anybody. Nobody was asking for violence, and you're telling us to sit down and shut up. Huh. Weird. It is not the same thing. It is not the same thing. When you go on to Facebook, social media, text, you go out into the public square, either it's online or in real life, and you are celebrating the death of somebody. You are celebrating the death of somebody you didn't agree with. And then your employer sees that and they fire you for it. That is, for one, not really cancel culture. You're still free. Social media, Facebook didn't censor you like it censored all of us during COVID, when we were just trying to ask questions. We're just asking questions. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just even sure I'm just asking questions. We just were asking questions about COVID. We were saying, well, wait a minute. Do masks really work? Does social distancing really work? What is this? Why are we going along with this? Boom, canceled. Boom, censored. Boom, throttled on social media. For simply just asking questions. We got censored on platforms. We got kicked off of platforms. People got demonetized on platforms simply by saying something that y'all didn't agree with. People lost a lot because of what? Because they didn't want to take the jab? Because of a religious belief that they hold? Or something else? You're over here celebrating the death of somebody. Yay! Yay! I hated him. I didn't agree with anything he said. Ugh, he was such a racist. He was a bigot. Clearly, because I'm saying it right now, I clearly have no idea who I'm talking about. I honestly never watched any of his content. Do you know what's so funny? I had so many folks tell me that they didn't like Charlie Kirk. They didn't agree with Charlie Kirk. And then in the same sentence say they've never watched any of his content. They never sought out any of his content. How do you know who this man is if you've never watched anything he's ever put out or you never sought it out? Well, I did my best to avoid his content. I didn't really seek it out. I didn't watch any of it. But let me tell you what I don't agree with. I certainly do not agree with that man. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know anything about him if you've never listened to anything he has to say? Or are you just echoing what somebody regurgitated and gave to you on the things you do listen to? MSNBC viewers, CNN. He's a racist. Okay. He said all black women are low IQ. No, he didn't. He never said that. Go back and read the tape. He never said all black women are low IQ. He said 3 specific black women were low IQ. And instead of, taking that at face value of what he said and trying to just dissect that, you go, he's a racist. He said all black women. No, he never said that. Never said that. You twist his words, you cut his clips, you make him and manipulate him into being what you want him to be, or what you want people to think he is. You are the party of cancel culture. You are canceling people because of their ideas, because they would question the government. You took away their livelihood because of that. And now you're over here crying because your employer saw you celebrate the death of somebody and says, we don't want that at our establishment. We're firing you. We don't want that toxicity here. And now you have the gall to go out and cry about it? Oh. Do I think people should be fired for the things that they say in public? Here's my response. It is up to their employer how they want to act, how they want to react when you say something in public. If I go out, I work for myself, I own my own company. So here, I'll say it like this. As an employer, as a person who runs a company, I would not want to hire somebody who celebrates the death of somebody they don't agree with. Because here's the thing. I don't like AOC. I don't like Bernie Sanders. I don't agree with these people. I don't like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib. I think these are highly toxic people to our country. I think they are anti-American. I think they are a detriment to society. They are destructive. They undermine the very things that our founding fathers put into place for us. They are not here to help America. They are here to destroy it and reshape it to whatever will benefit them. And there are other people that'll do that. And there's other people that do it on the other side of the aisle too. But I'm bringing them up specifically. Why am I doing that? Because I'm saying that to say that even though I believe that about them, and I believe that Ilhan Omar is evil, I really do. I think she's an evil individual. Do not wish for her to get hurt. I don't wish ill on her. I don't wish ill on any of those folks. Because that's not what you do. When people, you can have, this is how this works in life, folks. You meet people, you have a conversation, you discuss ideas, you can debate those ideas. You can agree to disagree, and you can continue to be friends, or you could go your separate ways and never see each other again. That's kind of how I feel with them. We would have to agree to disagree and go our separate ways. And then I will do everything I can to make sure you're never reelected. That's what I would do. Because I don't believe any of those people should be in politics. I don't think they should be making policy for the United States. Does that mean they should be removed permanently from this earth? No, they should be voted out. That's the reasonable, acceptable thing to do. But you went online and championed the death of somebody you didn't agree with. What other toxic traits do you have? Because that's pretty darn right evil and disgusting. What are you saying to the people that you work with at my company? What else are you doing? You become a liability. And for those reasons, you need to be fired. Some companies won't fire you. Some companies might reprimand you. They might just ignore it. And that is up to the company to decide. But it is not an infringement on your rights. That is not an infringement on your freedom of speech. Your freedom of speech protects you from the government. The government cannot tell you how to feel or what to think or what to say. If you want to go out on the street and hold up a sign that says you are happy that Charlie Kirk is dead, you have the right to do that. However, you are not free from the consequences of those actions beyond the government. The government may say, we can't stop you from doing that. It is your right to do that. But if your employer comes over and goes, whoa, what is this? Yeah, you're not working here no more. They have the right to do that. And that's just the way it goes. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. David, you wouldn't say that if it were you. You'd be upset if you said Christ is king and your employer fired you. No, not really. And quite frankly, if my employer fired me for saying Christ is king, I wouldn't want to work there. I'd be like, bye. Thank you. I am so glad you fired me for that, because obviously you're an evil company and I don't want to work for you. You're an antichrist company and I don't want anything to do with you. Period. Bye. I'll go find another job. Here's the thing. I have a reasonable IQ. I have reasonable intelligence. I have training. I have skills. I could go walk onto any job site right now and be minimal supervisor level, doing anything I want, from building to just minor trades. These idiot liberals who are out there pissing and moaning because they got fired, they're low IQ. They ain't got no job. They ain't got no skills. They're probably working some crappy job to begin with. To be completely honest with you, if we're all being a little honest, the employer was probably looking for an excuse to fire you, and they got one. You were probably not a very good employee. And they saw that and went, there's what we needed. Finally, get rid of them. This person sucked. Because the reality is today, good help is hard to find. Every company owner that I talk to says the same thing. It's hard to find good help. It really is. And you don't want to let someone go, especially if they're a great employee. You might look the other way if they were saying that, but they were a stellar employee. They come in there and they just knock it out of the park every day and the numbers are up and everything's good and they show up every day and they're never late, blah, blah, blah. You might go, oh, I don't like that at all. You might say, we're going to have a conversation. Let's keep our eye on them, right? See if they're spreading any kind of negativity in the workplace, but we're not going to fire them because they're a great employee. It's very likely that these people, and you see the video, you see these people, you're like, you're a problem child. You're a problem child at work and you're a problem child outside of work. You're a they, them. You're the person that comes into a room and announces to everybody that I demand to be called by my pronouns. And everybody looks at you and goes, whoa. And they roll their eyes and one person vomits a little bit and they go, I am so tired of this. I demand to be called they, them. Okay, goodbye. We're not playing that game. Nope, not dealing with that. Nope. Well, I'm non-binary. That's stupid. That doesn't even make sense. And we're not going to play your game. Go away. And this company has probably been putting up with that with you. And they finally had a reason. They said, enough is enough. You're gone. You really weren't that great of an employee to begin with. You had to have you took a sick day every week and you needed PTO every 2 weeks. You were never around anyway. Goodbye. You were a terrible employee. So we dealt with that. We dealt with the people being canceled. Jimmy Kimmel got canceled. Jimmy Kimmel was another example of that. He's not funny. He costs the network millions of dollars every year. His ratings suck. Oh, he returned to record ratings. No shit, because everybody wanted to see what he had to say when he got back. And he put the waterworks on. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make any. I never meant to apply. It's like you did. You knew what you did. You knew what you did. And you knew that you were done. And someone had a conversation with you and said, look, we'll bring you back, but you can't do that. And Jimmy Kimmel knows better than anybody that his ratings are terrible, that his show is a white dwarf, it's a dying star, and he knows he's on borrowed time. And he can sit here and he knows it. You may not think it, but he does. He has to. He's not a dumb guy. Jimmy Kimmel's not stupid. And I think he got a little dose of reality. It'll be interesting to see if he tones it back a little bit or if he goes a little more balanced. He probably won't. He's not going to have a conservative on his network. He never will. He won't. What was the number? Like 100 to 1 is what it was. He had for every 100, he had like 100 liberals on. He had 100 Democrats on his program last year or something like that, and only one like Republican. They're all that way, by the way. Just Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, it's like hundreds of Democrats, 1 to 2, maybe 5 of the other. And they wonder why their ratings suck. Because you're only pandering to one side. Look, I love Dave Chappelle. I love South Park. South Park makes me laugh. South Park does some things where I go, ooh, that's a bit too much. I go, I didn't like that, But the thing about South Park is everyone's fair game. They go after everybody. Dave Chappelle goes after everybody. And yeah, sometimes they say some things about Christianity that I don't agree with and I don't like it, but they're fair and balanced. They kind of go after everyone. And that's why their ratings are good. That's why that's why Dave Chappelle packs a house every time he goes somewhere. That's why South Park's been on air since I was a kid. Because they don't alienate anybody. They come after everyone. And they do it in a very clever and fun way. You just have to laugh at it. So that's that. We dealt with that. And then it didn't take long. And I'll be completely honest, I was a little bit surprised. And maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that this happened. But we quickly moved into the conspiracy theory world. The conspiracies were flowing like water. Like a raging river. It was like a river of water. It was like a river of water going into the ocean. It was so many conspiracies. They said it was a lot of conspiracies. It was a lot of conspiracies. And it was frustrating. It's been hard to listen to because there's people that you respect. There's people that you care about, that you've listened to for a while. There's friends that you have. And you just go, really? There's people saying that he faked his death. Why? Why would he do that? Here's the thing you need to ask yourself. Let me tell you how life works. Whenever something happens and you hear somebody say something, take a moment and take a 360-degree view of what that person just said. And think about everything. Like pan out and circle around it. Charlie Kirk faked his death. Why would Charlie Kirk fake his death? Charlie Kirk was on a mission. Charlie Kirk was in his prime. From what he started when he was 18 to where he was now at 30 or 31. How old was? I don't remember how old he was off the top of my head. That man was initiating change like nobody else. He was getting young men, especially young men and young women, but a lot of young men. He was bringing them to Christ. He was bringing them into the the conservative world. And yeah, he brought him to the Republican Party. That's cool too. Don't really care about that part. I care more about the fact that he was bringing young men to God, because that's all that matters. You bring people to Christ, everything else works itself out. Period. Why would he fake his death? There's no benefit to that. Like, he had no reason to. None. Or what? Because he was receiving death threats? So what? He receives death threats all the time. Everybody does in that business. It's part of it. If he faked his death, Erica Kirk would not have taken over let me put it this way. If he faked his death to protect himself from the death threats he was receiving, then his wife would not be the one taking over the company and continuing the legacy, because she would still be in the crossfire. Period. We've heard that this one, this one I'm going to spend a little time on. I don't know how much, but I'm about to go into it. Erica Kirk had her husband killed so she could take over Turning Point. It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. It's the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. It was a giant coup to remove Charlie and implement Erica. Again, why? First of all, let's just think about that. That is a huge risk to take for at least two reasons. One, you might get caught and go to prison for the rest of your life. Two, Charlie Kirk was the face of Turning Point. He was the reason. He would say that the reason Turning Point was successful was because of his team. He would be correct, but he was still the face of Turning Point. We're going to find out just how good his team is. He would always give, as a good leader, and as a good leader should, he always gave the accolades to his team, the guys working, the guys and gals on working and putting the work in with him. He would never take the credit. We're about to find out how good they really are and see where Turning Point continues to go. But nonetheless, he is the face of Turning Point. You remove him, you run the risk of Turning Point collapsing on itself. There's too much of a risk there. And besides that, you don't need to take somebody out to remove them from a company like that. Look no further than Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. They essentially staged a coup on him and removed him from his own organization. He was the face, the leader, the reason why Project Veritas was what it was, and it was as successful as it was, and they staged a coup and got rid of him. Funny fact about that, by the way, have you heard anything from Project Veritas since? Nope. You have heard of O'Keefe Media, because he continued what he was doing. That's my point. You don't have to remove somebody permanently from Earth in order to take over an organization. You just stage a coup and just oust him if you really wanted to. Again, that doesn't make any sense at all. At all. Erica's not acting the way she should. How should someone act when somebody dies, when somebody they love and somebody they care about dies? How should they act? Who are you to say that she's not acting right? You don't know her. Oh, well, she was on that podcast a few days ago and she was smiling. Okay. Is she not allowed to smile when she's in the company of friends, people who she probably considers family, and they're reminiscing about Charlie? Is she not allowed to smile about a moment maybe that was funny? Is she not entitled to that? Is she not entitled to any level of happiness right now? You know what I say? When you look at her and she's sitting there and she's smiling with her friends, her family members, talking about Charlie's legacy and what they're going to do at Turning Point, and they can have a smile, I go, good. That's what she needs. She needs she needs something like that. Because you don't know the hell that woman has just gone through over the last, 3 weeks. that woman at this very moment could be alone in her house on the ground, shaking in tears. You don't know that. And yet you sit here from afar and judge her. How dare you? How dare you do that? How dare any of you judge her because she had the strength to step up and say, and get in front of a camera and talk about, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to let this die with my husband. We're going to continue to move forward. Did she have to do that? No, she didn't have to do that. She chose to do it. I believe it was the right thing. She stepped up when the leader was, these radical leftists took down a prominent leader. She stepped up to say, we're not going to back down. We're going to move forward. And she did it in such a brave and strong way. Very strong. I'll be honest with you. It takes a special kind of person to be able to stand up in front of a camera and hold it together like that right after your husband got killed. And if you don't believe that she loved Charlie, you just go back and look at the videos. Those two, the way they acted with one another, the way you could tell. You could see it in their eyes. People can act and they can fake it, but you can see it. You can see it. And I'm going to tell you something. When she forgave the shooter at Charlie's memorial, man, just thinking about it now, it felt, I'm going to tell you this. The last 2 months of my life, I have never felt closer to Christ than ever in my life, even before Charlie was killed. I was going through some things in my life, trying to work it out. I was trying to do it myself. I got in my own way, and I felt like God himself came and just said, you are not being patient. You are not listening to me. I have a plan for you, and you are not paying attention, and you're trying to do things your way, and you need to stop. You need to focus on what I have planned for you. He literally basically, it was almost as if he spoke it to me. I didn't hear any voices or anything. I could see it because of what happened. And from that moment on, I could just see God working in my life. I could see these pieces, and I've submitted to him in a way that I never have before. And I can tell you, when Charlie was killed, it only grew. I could feel the Holy Spirit in my life in that moment. I could feel a rumbling in my soul, in a way that I could never explain it. And I was seeing things and feeling things that I've never felt in my life, that I've heard other people talk about. God just spoke to me. He laid it on my heart. I've always heard that, but I've never felt it. And I felt it for the first time in the last 2 months. And I felt it even more after Charlie died. And I'm going to tell you something. When she forgave the man that murdered her husband in cold blood, when she forgave him, it was like someone punched me right in my chest. I've never felt anything like that in my life. It was as if someone punched me right in the chest. My heart, everything. It was just like the air was sucked out of my lungs. It wasn't painful. It just felt like something moved in me. And it drew me to immediate tears. I had no control over my emotions, and I've never been that way in that regard. And I felt something move in me. It was like the Holy Spirit rattled in me. I felt it get shooken up by that statement when she proclaimed it to the world. And you think, oh, maybe it was just because of the moment. And I saw again several days later on a replay. It might have been on Fox or some news, or somebody replayed it, and I had the same feeling again. Just rumbling down in my soul, this emotional rumbling, this fire. It was like the flame of my soul. It was like God himself blew on the flame and it just grew. Woof. And I'm gonna tell you something. I ain't never felt closer to God than I have in my entire life than right now in this moment. Right now in this moment. And it's a lot of reasons why. It's not just Charlie. But I'm going to tell you something. Charlie affirmed it. He did. His His death, his martyrdom it affirmed it even more. It just grew. It just poured gasoline on the fire. The devil is attacking Erica. The devil is doing everything he can to get in the front of what happened after Charlie's death. Because this is what happened when Charlie died, everybody. We didn't all go hide in the basement. We didn't think that hope was lost. We didn't give up. We didn't say, this is it. We're done. They took away somebody who we cared about. They took away one of our greatest voices. What are we going to do? We didn't throw up the white flag. We didn't profess that God doesn't exist. How could God let this happen? He's clearly not real. No. Quite the opposite. You know what we did? We rallied. We rallied. The church rallied. The Christian community rallied. We all came together louder and more powerful and stronger than ever before. We didn't get revenge. We didn't get violent. We didn't loot. We didn't riot. We didn't steal. We didn't burn cop cars and damage private property. We held vigils. We held memorials. We wept together. We mourned together, and we praised God together because we knew that Charlie went to Christ. He's with God now, and it's now our turn to carry the torch. And you know what? More people came to God because of that. More people became saved. More people found Christ. The devil lost. The devil thought he won, but he lost. And now he's trying everything he can to undermine what's going on. He's going to fail again. He's going to fail. And you as a Christian, to all my Christian listeners out there right now, I'm telling you, don't fall into this trap. Don't sit there and go, well, Erica is kind of acting funny. Maybe this, maybe that. Don't do it. Don't let the devil deceive you. Don't let the devil undermine anything, because that's exactly what's happening. The evil one himself is coming into this moment. He is trying to undo as much as he possibly can. He is trying to tarnish this moment. He's trying to sow the seed of doubt, because it's all he can do. And that's all he wants to do. He has no interest in anything else other than creating chaos and disorder and to pull you and me away from our Father. And he's not going to win. Not now, and certainly not in the end. God, I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine what the pain that girl is going through right now. And I'm going to tell you what, she's true. I can see why Charlie married her. Because Charlie was a unique guy, man. There's not a lot of people like him. His work ethic, his drive, his passion, he just was a go-getter. There's not a lot of people like that. And I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of people who could be married to that. And Erica, she was his rock, his foundation, his support. She was right there with him in the fire, man. Right there, and getting into the weeds, getting into the fight. And I can see why. I'm like, dang, this woman's, she's impressive. I have no doubt that Turning Point's going to be just fine. I think things are going to change. I think we're gonna miss the, change my mind, or not change my mind, or prove me wrong. Sorry, I'm getting Steven Crowder in it mixed up. I think we're going to miss that. Charlie's uncanny ability to host those events and have conversation with kids. He had a very unique way of doing it, but he also had a very unique way of doing it and making it entertaining. It locked everybody in, even people like me who agreed with everything he said for the most part. I don't think there was too much we disagreed on. I don't know if we agreed on everything, but even I find myself just being locked in and going, I never thought about it that way. That's an interesting point. That's actually a really good point. He just had a way of doing it. And it's going to be very difficult, I think, for all of us to get to that point, to get to be that way. So we are going to miss that. But I do think we can all pick up the torch and do it in our own way, to carry on the word, to debate, to have discussion. I think we can. I said about it in the last podcast. I'm not going to go into it in full detail now. But the conspiracies continue. We have now, there was more than one shooter. It was more than one shooter. That's the new one. Oh, he didn't get shot from the front. He got shot from the back. And before all that, but let me digress. Hold up. Before we even get to that, before we even talked about Erica, we were talking about, oh, this was Israel. Oh, Israel. Oh, of course. Here we go. It was Mossad. It was a deep, dark sector of Mossad. They came in and they took out Charlie. Again, ask yourself why. Why? Well, he was he was beginning to change his mind on Palestine. Okay, is that a reason to kill him? If there's one thing that Israel, for the longest time, was pretty good at, and they're not doing very well at now, is the PR war. Israel has screwed the pooch in the PR department, and they're going to need to find a way to get that back. And I can tell you right now, they wouldn't want to risk it by taking out one of the conservative movements, one of the Christian movement's biggest leaders, period. There's no net gain for them. There's a bunch of people out there right now who are just as loud, who have just as big as a following, have as much of maybe not as much of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Persuasion. They don't have the ability to move things as well, but as Charlie did, Charlie changed hearts and minds. He started movements. There are people out there that have loud voices that don't do that, but they still have loud voices and they still move some people. They're not getting taken down. I think there's people who are far more egregious towards Israel that would probably deserve, I wouldn't say deserve it. Nobody deserves it, but like you would almost expect some sort of retaliation from Israel, at least some comment. Hey, shut up. Stop doing that. That's not true. And you don't see it. So it's ridiculous. Well, it was Israel. And then they show these videos. Israel shoots people in the neck. Look. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I was going to come on here and talk more about it before. And then I was like, no, I don't want to. And then I had been watching I love Patrick Bet-David's podcast. It's one of my favorites. And they just keep going on about it. And they posted this video from this guy who's like, this is proof that Charlie Kirk was shot from behind. And I watched that same video and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't see it. Look, there's blood behind his head. I'm like, that doesn't even look like blood. But just because there's some blood there, that don't mean nothing. It proves he was shot from behind and down. No, it doesn't. And of course, the people on Vinny, I love Vinny. He's running with it. I demand to know what really happened. Clearly, Charlie Kirk wasn't shot by this kid. He wasn't shot from the front. He was shot from the back. Look, this is proof. And then a week later, a video comes out with a perfect video, someone with a cell phone video of the back of Charlie Kirk, where it shows the thing that people thought was blood was his earpiece coming out of his ear. And there's no entry wound on that side. And you have people like Frank Turek, who was standing on that side of him, right next to him, and saying, no, there was only one wound because we immediately tried to stop the bleeding and we were only he's like, if there was an exit wound, we would have focused on both the entry and exit. There was only one wound and it was in the front. Listen here, guys. I'm going to say this. I'm not a ballistics expert. I'm not a crime scene investigator expert. You wanted me to build you a house? I could build you a house. You want me to tell you how your plumbing should be run? I can tell you how your plumbing should run. I can tell you how to do everything in a house, how to do construction. I'm not an expert. I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I learned how to fire weapons. I learned how to be a master at shooting weapons. Okay? I learned a lot about weapons and firearms and what bullets do and what they don't do, what they could do. And one thing that I learned, and one thing I've taken away from my time of shooting guns and being around them, is that bullets are not as black and white as you think they are. The movies, you watch a lot of movies and it seems like, oh yeah, bullets just fly straight and true and, like a rocket right out of the barrel of the gun, straight at its target. And it's not that way. the science behind bullets and what they do, it varies. I could take my AR-15 out to a range tomorrow. I could set it up on a tripod, get it dialed in, and pull the trigger, and it'll hit a target. And then I could come back the very next day. I leave the gun where it is, leave it loaded, leave it where it is, don't touch nothing. Come back the next day, pull the trigger again, the bullet will be in a different spot. It could be. Why? Humidity, wind, anything. Maybe I jerked the trigger a little more than I did before. There's so many variables that control what a bullet does. And that's just from on my side of things. How do I react? How do I pull the trigger? Do I squeeze it? Do I jerk it? Do I yank it? Is there a lot of humidity? How far am I? Is there bullet drop? Is there going to be a wind? Is the wind going to push it? You know, people don't know this, but the AR-15, the 5.56, the 223 round, you know, that round tumbles a lot. People think that bullet comes straight out true and flies through the air like a football at its target. No, not always. Sometimes. But there are a lot of times where it tumbles. It tumbles end over end through the air. Why? I don't know. It's just the way it just does. How do I know it does this? Because I pulled targets in the Marine Corps. You can watch it's the loudest noise in the world. Like you're standing under a target and you can hear the round slap the target because it's hitting it sideways. And it makes a perfect indentation of the bullet. Instead of it being a circle, like a hole, like you're used to seeing, it's in the shape, basically like an oblong shape of the bullet because it's tumbling through the air. Will that have an effect if it hits something? Of course. If I got hit with a 5.56 round and it wasn't tumbling, it's likely it could go in and out. And okay, but if it's tumbling, it's losing velocity at that point. It's not gaining it, that's for sure. It's losing energy. It's going to hit me and probably get lodged in me. And it's probably not going to leave a very clean hole either. I say all this to say this. People go, there's no way he was hit with a 30-06. If he did, it would be carnage. Well, from what I understand, and I didn't watch the video because I didn't want to see it, it was carnage. I heard people say, I wish I'd never seen that. I wish I had never watched that video. It's seared into my brain. I've heard testimony from people who were there. I will never be able to get that out of my brain of what I just saw. You got Vinny who goes, it looks like an exit wound. It looks like an exit wound. That doesn't look like an entry wound. It looks like an exit wound. He got shot in the neck with a 30-06, bro. It blew out the side of his neck. Do you understand the kinetic energy coming that? Like, do you understand what happens when that round hits something? It's a big round. It's moving pretty quick. It's got a lot of force behind it. In fact, when you watch the video of the rebuttal, where it shows that Charlie was not shot from behind, and it goes frame by frame, and it shows you when he does get hit, you actually see his neck expand. He looks like he looks kind of like a fat guy with no neck for a brief moment. His neck expands at least an inch in both directions before it finally calms. It goes back to the original size. And that happens so quick, you can't see it with the naked eye. But if you go frame by frame, you can see it. That's how much energy hit him. Yeah, but David, it's a 30-06. It'll go right through him. No, not necessarily. Look, bullets do weird things, guys. And here's the thing, too. You can get shot in the arm by a 223 round, which is basically a 22 round with a larger shell casing. 223 is an AR round. It's not much bigger than a 22 rifle round, the bullet itself. It's not a big bullet. But if you get hit the right way in like your arm or your leg, it could blow out tissue. It could look like a big, nasty wound. I know like in the movies, you think it just goes in and looks like a hole. It could, and it makes this perfect little hole, but not always. It depends on how it hits you, where it hits you. If it grazes your arm, it could certainly take a chunk out of your arm and make it look far worse like you got hit with a bigger round than a 223, is my point. Bullets are not predictable. When they hit something, they can do really anything. One of the things that we were taught in combat training was not to, when you were near a wall, if you were walking alongside a building, not to have your body leaning up against the wall. Why? because a bullet can hit the wall and then travel along the wall. You know, you think, oh, a bullet hits a wall, it's going to go into the wall. No, not necessarily. It could actually ricochet and follow along the wall. And so if you're leaning up against it and a bullet hits down range of that wall and then follows it, then it could hit you. So you want to leave yourself a gap. You want to leave yourself about a foot or so off the wall. So anything that ricochets and follows the wall doesn't hit you. I had no idea. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, it definitely can happen. So, you know, and Charlie Kirk was a healthy guy. And everybody's like, oh, the guy says it's a miracle and I don't buy it. It's like, really? You don't think it's a miracle? Because the guy who performed the autopsy, he said if that bullet had gone through him, it would likely would have hit somebody behind him and could have killed somebody else. So if you don't believe in miracles, my friends, then you don't believe in Christ. Because you could say, yeah, but I mean, do you really think God stopped that bullet? He could have. He certainly could have. I've seen crazier things in the world, and, you know, God walked on water. So, you know, God created the universe. He created the heavens and the earth, and he walked on water, and he raised people from the dead and healed the lame. If you think he can't stop a bullet, you're crazy. And here's the thing. I didn't really think it was possible either, and I gave it some thought. They said Charlie's bones were so dense it stopped a bullet. And I thought, man, that seems a bit far-fetched. Now, I am going to talk to my chiropractor and see what he thinks. As a man who manipulates bones, he would know. But I do remember a podcast I listened to a few years back. It was, I believe, a Vinnie Tortorich podcast. It was when we were doing the big no sugar, no grain thing, and we were having the shows about it. And I was listening to him. He had somebody on there, and I wish I could remember who it was, but it was a while ago. But what I do remember, they were talking about, and that's why I'm not sure if this was Vinny or if this was Paul Saladino's podcast, but they were talking about like oxalates. When you eat certain foods, especially vegetables, they have oxalates, and oxalates they prevent you from absorbing minerals. So a lot of times people who are like on a high vegetarian diet, they tend to have, they may not be vegan, they may be primarily vegetarian, and they might drink milk or something or take a calcium supplement, but their bones are becoming brittle. And the reason why is because the oxalates in those vegetables are preventing you from absorbing the minerals. And so your bones become brittle because you can't absorb the calcium, can't use it. It just passes through you. And this guy was talking about that. He said, I don't eat veggies. I just do this and this and this. And he said, and because of that, my bone density is more than most people. He says, I have really dense, hard bones. It's like rock, like granite. And I remember they were like, well, how do you know? And he goes, well, one of the ways I know is I had a bunion or like something on his foot that needed to be removed. And he went to the foot doctor or whatever, and they were going to remove it. And he was able to stay awake for the procedure. They just numbed him up, and he was sitting there to kind of put a curtain in front of his face so he can't see what they're doing, but he could hear him. He goes, I could hear the doctor getting audibly frustrated because my bones were so hard and so dense, his tools couldn't grind away what he needed to grind away. That's how dense and hard his bones were, that his tools that are used to grind away and sand away bone were not working. And I forgot about that. And I remembered it today. And I was like, yeah, I mean, these guys use carbide, stainless steel bits and stuff to drill into bone. It ain't like they're using a plastic tool. They're using metal that drills into it, you know. In some cases, they almost look like masonry bits. And he had a hard time. He had a hard time removing the bone that needed to be removed, the growth. Anyway, thinking about that tells me, yeah, does that mean that someone who's healthy and has great bone density may have stopped a bullet? Sure, it's possible. It's probably not something you could repeat. You know, if you do that 3 or 4 times, it may not. And that's the thing, like the investigator that I was listening to, this guy If you want to listen to him, he was on the Frank Turk I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist podcast. He invited this longtime homicide investigator on. He comes on all the time to talk about faith and everything. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick so I can tell you. This guest was J. Warner Wallace. And I don't see. You know what? My phone probably didn't download it because I haven't listened to the podcast in a minute here. I was watching it on YouTube. But it's the one with J. Warner Wallace. They're talking about Charlie Kirk. You can find it on YouTube for sure. You might be able to find it on the podcast. But he even said, like, he's like, because Frank was like, do you think it's possible that the 30-06 round could get lodged in his neck? He goes, well, absolutely. He goes, bullets don't ever, they don't act the way you would think. He goes, we've had cases where a round enters upper torso and exits it back middle or back lower torso. In other words, it hits you in the upper chest, travels down through your body and enters back and exits out your buttocks or your tailbone. How does it do that? We don't know. It's just the bullet reacts differently when it hits you. The body and the round, they do weird things. And he's like, he's like, I know it seems unlikely because it's such a strong round. He goes, but you know, you got to think this guy's 200 yards out. He fires it. The round is going to lose velocity as it travels just by design. It's not going to gain velocity. Now there is ammunition and there are bullets out there that can kind of gain. I do believe there's a 50 cal. Well, it reaches a terminal velocity and then it starts to do things. But see, that's the thing about bullets, guys, is like you can't. It's not a one size fits all. Just because it's a large round doesn't mean it's going to do this. And it doesn't mean it's going to be, at 200 yards, you don't know what the velocity of that round was or if it was decreasing. We don't know what the grain of the bullet was. Like there's different grains. There's different types of rounds. You've got hollow points, full metal jackets. You've got subsonic rounds. I mean, you've got so many different, and that's the thing, like a subsonic round is designed to go travel faster. Clearly not the bullet that was probably used here. So there's all these things, and again, sometimes you have to look at it and go, yeah, maybe it was a miracle that it didn't go all the way through and hit somebody else, and then you have to ask yourself, if God intervened and stopped that bullet from going all the way through, then this is all part of God's plan. And then we need to sit back and go, okay, let me pray. Let's pray and find out what God wants us to do. And I can tell you right now, he probably doesn't want you coming up with wild conspiracy theories that can't be proven and are getting disproved at a rapid pace. I'm sure he doesn't want you going on and blaming Israel, there's no basis for that whatsoever. Here's the deal. Candace Owens, don't listen to her ever again. She is low IQ, clickbait mastery. She always talks about how she brings receipts. She doesn't have receipts. It's all a joke. It's such a joke. Who believes anything she says? Her receipts are, I sent a text message and they didn't respond. Well, first of all, you show the text message, but you don't show. How do we know that that's a real text message sent to that person? I can put anybody's name into my phone under and pretend to send a text message. Those aren't receipts. That's not evidence. It never would hold up in a court of law. I mean, it's a joke. And she goes on here and she starts stoking this fire. She starts saying things and you're just like, what are you doing? And I'm going to tell you, I don't know what happened to Candace. I don't know if she's doing this just to be because she's chasing the likes. She's chasing the algorithms. She's trying to remain relevant. She's independent now. So it's all on her, man, to get the views and to get the money, to get the ad revenue and the monetization. So I don't know if there's some desperation there from her where she's like, I don't want to lose what I've built. You know, I've got this following and I got fired and I'm afraid I'm going to lose it because I'm on my own. So let me just say outrageous stuff and start things because I know it's going to bring eyeballs to me and it's going to help my algorithms and yada, yada, yada. It could be that, or she could literally just be, there could be some sort of possession there. She could be evil and she's just doing the work of the devil. It could very well be that too. I'd like to think it's not, because I do believe that she does hold good conservative values. She does talk about her faith. She references her faith all the time. Does that mean that she's actually living in her faith? I don't know. She could be a complete wolf in sheep's clothing. But I do think at the very least, she's just out there chasing the algorithm. Like, she's not interested in what's really true or real. She's just interested in stoking a narrative, creating narratives that brings attention to her and her show. Okay. Well, that's wrong. And people should ignore her. She should be ignored, period. I think so far I have no reason to believe that the narrative that we have from the FBI is a lie. Do I think there could be more to it? Sure, absolutely. Do I think it's possible that this shooter didn't act alone? Sure, absolutely. There could have been more people there. We won't know until the investigation's done. You know, the thing about it is you have to remember, like, there's two things at play here. One, there's the investigation against the man who's now in jail for shooting Charlie Kirk. And there's the evidence that's going to be brought to trial. And so everybody needs to do their part to make sure that they don't mess this up in a way that would help a guilty man get off on a lighter sentence. You know, you don't want to ruin or hurt the prosecution's case because you mismanaged evidence. So there's that aspect. And then there is the aspect of, well, hey, there may be more parties involved. There might have been another shooter there. There might have been this might have been a group effort. There might have been people in the crowd that was a part of it. But we're going to keep that close to the cuff because we're actively investigating it. You know, people are talking about, well, oh, the trans boyfriend disappeared. Like, where'd he go? He's just gone? Are you kidding me? I'm like, bro, that guy's in like witness protection. Are you kidding me right now? You really think he just disappeared? Like, you really think the FBI would just let him walk away? I mean, how naive are we? He's either gone from where he lived and he's being looked at, he's being monitored by the FBI. They know where he's at, or he's in some sort of witness protection program, temporary, like a temporary protection where the FBI puts him up in a safe house to keep him protected. Not because they think he's innocent or not, but just simply because he may not be innocent. He might be in on it. They might have more questions. They might be doing more investigation on him. But in the meantime, they need to keep that person safe because you never know. There might be some crazy guy out there who's like, I'm going to find this guy and I'm going to take him down. So they're going to protect him. And yeah, they may even allow the narrative to go out and say they disappeared. We don't know where they're at because you're trying to protect them. That's just all part of it. I mean, come on, people. Like, really? I mean, hell, how dumb do you think everybody is? Do you really think the FBI is going to let this person just walk away and disappear off the face of the earth? Come on. Not even close. Let's use some discernment here. Let's use let's get that IQ going. All right, let's put the IQ to work. Let's use the intelligence and think this through. So no. He's around. They know where he's at. They can get him if they need to. They're probably there's going to be more information that's going to come out. It may not come out until trial. The conversations that were had on Discord may not come out until the trial. We may find out just before this guy's trial that some kids on that Discord are under arrest for things that they did or said, or maybe whatever, or what have you. My point is there's a lot still going on. I'm about 89.99% sure that the kid acted alone, but I am about 98.99% sure that Charlie Kirk was shot by this kid with the rifle they found. And it's unfortunate. And I get it. Everybody wants to. I think for some folks, it's like some folks like Candace Owens, that they're chasing the clicks. They're chasing the algorithm. They're looking to keep their channel up and running and grow what they do. They're a talking head. And then I think there's folks out there that are just, they love a good conspiracy, and they're just kind of getting their popcorn out and feeding into it. And I also think there's a lot of people that don't want to believe deep down that this is just some guy. Like some guy was just like, I hate Charlie and I'm going to do this. Because that's probably more terrifying than, the alternative. We always want to kind of, anytime there's a crisis, like a school shooting or a Charlie Kirk or something, even 9/11, although there's some things coming out about 9/11 and we'll probably talk about that here soon, but we're always so quick to just kind of be like, oh, it was this organization. It was this foreign terrorist group. It was this foreign agitator. It was this, it was the CIA. It was the FBI. It was Mossad. It was the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. And we kind of create these sort of Bond-like villains, these James Bond-like villains in our head of these people, because it's like, it's almost like, yeah, there's this agency that's evil, but we could see that agency and we know where they're at, and we can kind of put a light on it, and it seems, yeah, it's threatening, but we can do something about it. Whereas with this kid, he's faceless. He's your neighbor. He's the person you go to work and talk to every day in the office. Maybe had a cup of coffee and talked about a movie you both went and saw, or a movie or something. This guy is you. He could be you. He could be your neighbor right now, and you would never know. And that's terrifying to think about, because there's nothing you can do to prevent those people from doing what they do. If it's Al-Qaeda, you go after Al-Qaeda. If it's the FBI, then we must have investigations and go after the FBI, the big machine. But when it's the guy who lives 3 doors down and waves at you every morning on the way to work and smiles and loves college football or something, and next thing you know, you see on the news that he just went and did something crazy, you go, oh my God. And that's truly terrifying, because there's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's why some people have to create this conspiracy. They have to go, it couldn't be this kid. It couldn't have been just him. He had to have had a group of people. There has to be another second shooter. There has to be some organization involved with this. This has got to be CIA. This has got to be FBI. It's got to be Mossad. It's got to be, it was Hillary Clinton. I don't know. Who else do we want to try to blame on this? Here's the reality, everybody. And it's not exciting. It is terrifying. When you really want to think about it, when you want to take that 360-degree view and think about it, it's quite terrifying. This was a guy who got radicalized. He went into echo chambers, and enough hate and enough possession got into him to cause him to want to steal a firearm from his house and hurt somebody. That's that. The conversations that we should be having right now isn't, oh, was there another shooter? Or, oh, was this Mossad? Instead, what we should be doing is focusing on the problem at hand, which is there are a group of individuals, a very large growing group of individuals in this country who don't like us. Who don't like us so much that they're happy when we get killed. They celebrate our death. They're not interested in conversation. They want to silence us. We should be thinking about how we need to deal with that problem. But instead, and this happens all the time, which kind of makes me feel like some of these conservative talking heads, maybe even Candace Owens, are paid agitators, because it never fails that when we have a crisis like this, they come out of the woodwork and they start doing things that puts a rift into what it is we're doing or what we're circling around. We had a huge memorial for Charlie Kirk. It was beautiful. It was just an amazing thing to see. And they had worship music, and they were people professing the story of Christ. They were professing what Christ did for us on a grand stage like I've never seen before. You had Fox News and other news agencies 20 all day professing the gospel to the world. It was amazing. And then you have people like Candace who I wouldn't go. I'm not going. This is why. And she starts sowing that sort of divisive language. And it's like she's trying to taint what was going on. That's why I'm like, is she possessed? Is there something wrong with her? You know, she's been hanging around what's his name? Quite a bit lately. And since she started hanging around him, she's been acting a little bit weird. And I've always said that guy's, don't trust Yeezy. Don't trust him. He's possessed. You know, he said he was Jesus at one point. And then he said he became a Christian. I'm like, he's literally manipulating everybody. Everyone's like, oh, look, he's found Christ. Isn't that great? I'm like, don't trust it. Nope. Because I know what he was saying a few weeks before. And then sure enough, several years later, you start to find out that's all just a ruse. And she's been hanging around him a lot. So there are people in our midst that are part of they claim to be conservative, claim to be Christian, that seem to be wanting to just create chaos and benefit any way they can from it. So we shouldn't be worrying about conspiracies or this or that. We should just believe the exact things that our eyes show us. You saw what I saw. I knew he got hit with a heavy round. I said it the day it happened. I saw the video. I thought he got hit in the chest. The way he moved when he got hit, his whole body just jolted back. You know, a lot of people think it's like the movies, like you shoot a guy with a shotgun, he goes flying 7 feet back because the shotgun's so powerful. It's really not like that. You might stumble back, right? Or if you're running towards someone and you get hit with a shotgun, you might stop and fall down. It might stop you dead in your tracks. But you're not going to go flying through a wall. That's Hollywood effects. It doesn't work that way. It's all about the laws of physics and the force of the round and everything else. But the one thing I saw with Charlie is his whole shirt moved. Like you could see that air move on his shirt. That air was from the round. That round is piercing through. And it's like when you watch a fighter jet fly through the air, when they're hitting that Mach speed, you start to see the air on the wings because of the friction. It creates the vapor. And so you can see the air, and you can see how it's kind of, the aircraft is almost pushing air. It looks like it's pushing air. That's what that bullet's doing. And so when it hits him, you see that it shakes his whole shirt, and he jolts in such a way where I'm like, damn, he got hit with like a big round. I was like, that wasn't a small round he got hit with. He got hit with a big round because the way he jolted. And another thing is it kind of makes sense that the bullet stopped because of the way he jolted. You had all that kinetic energy hit him and stop. It's kind of like if you hold a piece of cardboard out and you lightly tap it with a knife, that cardboard will move, right? It just kind of moves backwards. Right. It's hard. You know, you can tap it with the knife and it just kind of moves. But if you quickly stab it fast and the knife pierces it, the cardboard won't really move. And so that's kind of like this. It's like when that bullet hit him and stopped, that kinetic energy had nowhere else to go, and he kind of almost went with it a little bit, and it jolted him. It looked like he got hit with a heavy round. And so when they said 30-06, I actually, in my head, I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. 30-06. He looked like he got hit with a 30, like the way his body moved. And then, yeah, oh, it looks like an exit wound. Yeah, his neck got blown out, guys. It's your neck. He got hit with a large caliber round in the neck. That's why he died instantly. Because he got hit in his jugular, side of his neck, and it blew out the side of his neck. That's horrible and graphic to say. I'm sorry. I don't like saying it or talking about it, but that's what's going on. There's no conspiracy here. There's no conspiracy here. You have a kid. Shouldn't say kid. You have a young man. I don't want to say kid because it kind of like softens the blow. This was a young man who became radicalized, who didn't know the truth. He didn't know the truth. He didn't know the truth about Christ. He certainly didn't know the truth about Charlie. He got radicalized and he decided to take things into his own hands. That is the problem that we are dealing with in this country. You have news agencies, politicians. I mean, Ilhan Omar wasted no time and went on public TV saying like, oh, are we supposed to mourn him like he was some good person? Don't gaslight me into thinking he was a good man when he was all this. Everything she said was a lie. How dare you? You're a woman in politics. If you don't like him, then just shut the hell up. That's what I said. People go, oh, there were people that went onto my Facebook and they're like, I'm not saying I agree with him being killed. I'm just saying that. I'm like, I hear what you're saying. You're like, I think it's sad that someone got shot, but I'm like, here's a thing. And then they go, I don't know why you're getting so upset, David. Well, maybe because you're slandering a dead man. You're slandering a man who cannot defend himself. You're slandering him in a way that's not true. So yes, it's quite frustrating. I was like, here's some food for thought. How about just, I don't know, shut the hell up. Like, just keep your mouth shut. Like, why do you feel the need to go onto social media and say something stupid like that? And again, these are the same people that go, well, I never really listened to anything he had to say. Well, you clearly have some opinion of him. And now he's dead. He was murdered. He was assassinated in cold blood because he was talking about things. He was assassinated for his ideas. And now here you are. The body's is not even cold or in the ground yet. And you're on social media going, yeah, well, I know he should have died, but blah, 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 blah. And then you're going, I don't know why everybody's getting mad at me. I just will say, I don't know why you're getting like frustrated or upset. It's like, what do you think? You know the old saying, like, you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? I don't know. Maybe this was a good time to adopt that. You know what I mean? Just saying. Just saying. I remember when things would happen, I would say, like, I didn't agree with this person on really anything, but I think it's really sad. You know what I mean? Like, you could say something. But no, you chose to go there, and now you're upset because people are calling you out on it. You don't understand why. That's the problem. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we should be focused on. My call to everybody right now listening to this podcast is going to be the same thing I said last time. You need to step up. I was worried. I was like, hey, I wonder if this is all just going to fizzle away, if everybody's just going to kind of retreat back to their hole. And we're going to go as business as usual, which is what we always do in this country. It's on to the next headline. Sure enough, we had another church shooting. We had more chaos in this country. There's no shortage of that. Some guy drove into a Mormon church, lit it on fire, and shot people. It's disgusting. And then, of course, people are like, he's a Trump supporter. Actually, he's not. But, again, I think we're missing the point here, folks. Mormons are generally conservative. They don't believe what Christians necessarily believe, but they're very faith-oriented, very family-oriented, very conservative people, tend to be Republican, almost always. And this guy targeted them. Do you really think that he was targeting them for political reasons and being on the same side of them politically? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, does it? Do you think a Republican just went into a church and killed a bunch of conservative Republicans? No, that's stupid. Again, let's use our heads here. But that's not the point, though. We have a serious mental health crisis. And I will say this. I have been a part of this. Other people have been a part of it. We are at each other's throats constantly. We're always, he said, she said, this group, that group. They hate you. This, it's every day is doomsday. If this guy gets elected, it's the end of America as we know it. And both sides, they do it. Like the Democrats, they mastered it. And they will not stop. The Republicans have recently tamped it down a little bit, but they were just as bad. I remember when Obama was running, everybody was like, America's going to be, come to an end. Obama's this evil dictator. He's bad. Like Obama was bad. He was a horrible president. And he did a lot of damage, especially with race relations. There's no doubt in my mind. But we still have a republic. The country's still here. The checks and balances, the system worked. My point is we need to tone it down a bit. Everybody needs to take a beat. Because here's the deal. And when you cry wolf enough and the wolf doesn't come and you keep crying wolf, people are going to become so sensitive to it that when the wolf finally does come, they're not going to be paying attention. So when Hitler 2.0 actually does show up, you fucking people aren't going to be paying attention. Because you've called everyone you don't agree with Hitler. He's Hitler. We need discernment. And I apologize for swearing. I'm trying not to swear. It's hard because I'm a Marine and that's my favorite words. But in this moment, we need discernment. We need to think logically about what we're doing and who we're talking to. We need to ask ourselves truthfully, do we believe the person we're engaging with and debating with is actually evil? Are they really Hitler? Are they really a communist? Are they really this, that, or anything else? Or are they just misguided and misinformed? Maybe you're misguided and misinformed. Think about it. Just think about it. I know it's hard. And get the hell out of your echo chamber. I've been listening to things where I'm like, I didn't agree with it. I never even thought about it. My stance on Israel is probably not the same stance I had 2 years ago. Does that mean I don't support Israel? No. Does it mean I'm thinking a little more critically about the situation over there? Yeah, I am. I'm giving it some thought. I'm like, some people have said some things. People that live there. People that are from that region. I'm not from that region. I don't know what's really going on over there. And I listen to them and I go, that's interesting. I wonder how much truth there is to that. These are all things that we should be doing. We become better people for it. We'll become wiser. And the hostility will be tamped down a bit. That being said, there are people out there that are being paid to agitate. There are people that are out there that do not have the best interests of this country. I would hope that the administration is finding those people. I won't say who specifically, but it starts with S and ends with Oros. People like that pay, that are clearly paying people to riot, agitate. They're paying people to protest ICE. These are kids. They don't got no job. They got nowhere to be. Yet they can afford to go out there and stand out there all day and get arrested and get felonies. Someone's paying their bail. Someone's paying their legal fees. There are powers that be that want to undermine what is going on. They want to destroy this country. And in order for us to know who those people really are, we need to have discernment. We need to think clearly. The last thing we want to do is be irrational. We don't want to make blanket statements. We don't want to make blanket comments and segregate ourselves from people that don't believe the things that we believe. Instead, what we should be doing is going out into the street, getting in front of those people and talking to them like Charlie did. Because if we all do it, just think about how much change we could bring to this country or to the world. If all of us just started doing what Charlie did on a little micro level, you go out into your community and you start having conversations. They can't take us all down, but we can certainly change a lot. And Charlie proved that. Long episode today. I had a lot to say, more than I thought, to be completely honest. I did not think I was going to go this long. But thank you guys so much for listening to the rant. I've had a lot of great feedback. People enjoyed the last episode. They appreciated it. I appreciate you. Go like, subscribe, get the alerts for new episodes. I'm going to start coming on here and doing more and more. So just, if you listen on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, leave me a review, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. It helps me out a lot. Doesn't cost you a dime. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week. Go out and change some heart and minds. Be a positive force for good. And by all means, give it all to God and Christ. We love him. See you later.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.